I'm Graham Kennedy. I'm the Director of Industrial Solutions at Ricoh Europe. So we're a $20 billion Japanese multinational digital solutions provider. We've got a strong heritage in office print, multifunctional printers. We've got a market-leading portfolio of commercial print, both toner and inkjet. And we've got a fast-growing digital services business, which, as you can imagine, with what's going on, in terms of how often we are going and how often we are not going to the offices, is rapidly transforming our engagement with corporations and businesses around the world. All of this is delivered through, I like to believe, a passionate 90,000 strong workforce, and it's all underpinned by a really strong commitment to innovation, demonstrated by a $1 billion a year investment in R&D spend. Now, within the industrial printing business group, we take some of the core technologies that exist in the wider Ricoh. Industrial printheads are a key component in that, but also with some software, with some inks, with engineering expertise and competence. And we use these to support the transformation of growth in areas where inkjet is really at the heart. And I think being a key partner in the early stages of some of these innovations puts us in a unique position to look at trends and the future. And I think that the kind of anticipation of that next new is something that really keeps us all on our toes at Ricoh. Now, I think one of the core roles of a printhead supplier is to provide and to develop robust technology that can help move markets forward. But I think another part of our responsibility is really to champion that technology in its adoption into new markets outside of the traditional print spaces, and seek out perhaps where inks or coatings or other fluid depositions could add value. I think having attended a lot of exhibitions, digital printing events over the last couple of years, I think one of the real key focus areas has been packaging. Corrugated board, corrugated liner, flexible packaging. But I think this market, unlike the traditional office space, it's really continuing to grow. We're not going to stop buying packaged food, we're not going to stop buying electronics, and we're not going to stop our habits about e-commerce deliveries to our houses. So the packaging market, I agree, it's a huge growth market. It's going to continue to grow, billions of square metres of analogue print to go after. But when? We've been talking about it for a long time, and how? I think there are many high-profile projects that are being talked about, probably many of them in the room across the hallway. Lots of clever engineering being adopted at the leading edge of print quality, of speed, and of performance. But I think quite often at the bleeding edge of cost, of resource, and of time to market. And they're often ignoring the potential markets or the potential low-hanging fruit that could be realised with more simple innovations, whether they be slower, smaller, less costly. And maybe we'll come on to that in a little bit more detail in the panel session a little bit later on. But I think with an estimated printhead consumption in that market, this year I would estimate at less than 5,000 units. My feeling is that we're going to continue to wait for the evolution in that packaging market for a little while longer. However, in comparison, the much lower profile direct-to-shape market, that's going to consume 3 times as many printheads in this same year. I would estimate about 15,000 units being consumed in this sector. And in the total global volume of print heads that are adopted into new technologies, not the traditional sign graphic and commercial print, but into new technologies, I think that's a huge, significant number, and one that we in the developing space can't ignore. Yeah, so I think direct-to-shape printing, yes, undoubtedly it's lower profile. But there have been developers developing systems over the last 10 years, often in the shadows. Often they're working quietly. They've got some strong investor support behind them, and they're often working with the scourge of the inkjet industry, that dreaded DNA. So it's unsurprising that you might not be aware of all the developments that might be going on out there. But there are developments ongoing, and I'm sure some of the names that you'll recognise on the screen here: Krones, KHS, Machines de Bouy, Hinterkopf, Velox. They're all developing systems. They're all contributing towards this growth in print head volume, and they're all contributing towards the confidence that's being exhibited now in a burgeoning marketplace. Of course, they're not all developing products for the same target audience. Some of them are developing, focusing on low volume promotional goods, whilst actually the majority are focusing towards high productivity manufacturing for beverage, for cosmetic, detergent and adhesive markets, where inkjet or the flexibility and the versatility of inkjet can really add value and enable printing onto a real wide range of substrates, whether that be metal cans, plastic bottles or glass. And it's these manufacturing areas that I'll focus on today. But I think similarly to the corrugated market, the drivers for digital, they're being led by consumers, of course, and the big brands. There's an increased demand for differentiation. That's not going to be a surprise. But that leads to a higher number of SKUs. There's increased competition, lower levels of consumer loyalty, and that leads to shorter product life cycles. Changes in buying habits, an increased consumer choice forces the brands to increase their distribution channels, ensuring maximum market reach. Every part of the supply chain expects fast delivery. The difficulties that we've experienced over the last couple of years, added with ongoing supply chain issues, they're forcing the discussion of global versus local production, with many opting for production closer to the end user. And I think this type of reshoring of voluminous production, is something that we've seen in the textile business over the last 5 to 7 years. I've got no doubt that we'll see that type of process impacting more markets, including packaging, significantly in the future. There's a requirement for frequent promotions to drive loyalty. And I think small brand differentiation, it's also driving the need for change. The trend for craft beers in the US, increasing the demand for short-run bespoke production, US and in Europe. And we've touched on it a couple of times already today as well. The recyclability, it's increasingly important to enhance sustainability credentials. Printing directly onto the product, eliminating the shrink sleeve like Ken talked about earlier, eliminating the label. It's a really attractive proposition and simplifies the recycling process as well. On the right-hand side, commercially, the decorator, he needs to be convinced too. Short runs, they need to be produced cost effectively and efficiently. I think in an analogue world, anything under a 200,000 run for cans, it's just not viable. Proofing, plates, change over time, just not feasible for 1 or 2 hours of a production run. So demonstrating that real ability to cost effectively print short runs is critical. I think from a process efficiency perspective as well, a typical metal can printer, he'd have an in-house ink plant, and he'd need somewhere in the region of 800 different ink variants available to satisfy all of his customer demands. So digital eliminates that need and it eliminates the cost as well. Eliminating job setup, also eliminates cost and process complications associated with either label or with shrink sleeves. And that just adds to the total cost of ownership that such systems can deliver. Whilst then on-demand production, it wipes out overproduction and inventory and waste as well. So no need to print, no need to ship, no need to store and apply the label or the shrink sleeve. And no need to cram in all the legislative detail for the different country variants as well. So just print the detail that's required for the jurisdiction, relevant and legible. And I think digital decoration opens up huge opportunities for regional producers. I mentioned craft breweries as an example. Fast response to cultural, to music, and sporting events as examples. And then if you tell the marketing departments, Alan, you talked about marketing departments not being aware in the textile industry. I think you talk to marketing departments in the canning industry. You could open up a whole new host of opportunities as well. Just imagine maybe Glastonbury last week with you had bottles with Paul McCartney's face on. Maybe it would have contributed to the cleanup. People would have taken their bottles home, or maybe in Munich. The Bayern supporters buying cans with Sadio Mane's face, a new hero. I think this is all very possible, but is it a reality today? Well, actually, it is. What you see here is a product from a company, Velox. Velox are a Ricoh industrial printhead customer. So they went public last year with their collaboration with a leading metal can vendor, Crown Holdings. Up until last year, Velox had been in development with a series of industrial decorators focusing on plastics and laminated tubes, primarily for the cosmetics market. But the announcement of this relationship with Crown, I think it's a real turning point for the acceptance of digital decoration on an industrial scale. So the product you see here, the IDS 500, it's called 500, flagship product of their range. It can print the sidewall, the chime and the neck of 500 cans per minute, or 30,000 cans per hour. Every one of those fully versioned at photorealistic quality. So I think a real game changer, offering significant advantages over offset printing. And that the partnership that Velox had or have, Crown, they're clear on the benefits that this can offer. They've stated in their press releases, it provides their clients with new innovative decoration opportunities, small batch variety, seasonal promotion capability, and the ability to offer multi-packs containing a variety of SKUs. And I think the success of this type of collaboration is not just simply down to fast printing. It's about system developers working with industry, understanding the pain points, and uncovering the value that digital inkjet printing can enable. And I think that's something that Velox have done extremely well in this instance. Personally, and from a Ricoh perspective, I'm really confident that we're at the dawn of a new age in industrial direct-to-shape printing. And I'm sure many in the room can be a part of that growth. Whether you're a system developer or a brand wanting to influence the next technology being developed, you can play a part in that. So I'd say don't be blinded by the hype. Obviously, you haven't been listening to the packaging discussion in the next room, but there is a lot of hype around corrugated board and flexible packaging. Don't be blinded by that hype. Take a look at the value that's being offered today and what DTS, direct to shape, could do for you. So I'm around for the rest of the evening, as is the rest of the Ricoh team. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you a little bit more about what it can do for you. Thank you.